Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cons in the Lord of the Rings community. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm your host, Ted Bannock, and I love talking about cons. It's what we're going to do today. I'm super excited. Cardboard has hit the table, so to speak, very recently, and I'm excited to talk about it, Dave.
Yes, I am. But before we get into that, I would like to thank all the patrons of the show, because without our dedicated group of patrons, this show would be a lot less fun to put on, right? So as a direct result of the con, I think we got an extra patron, so I'd like to welcome Steven to the Card Talk family. Thank you out there, Steven. And then we have several other patrons. And so, John, I know that you're a casual listener of all the community stuff, so I gave up trying to do it all in one breath when it finally became uncomfortable. So thank you to all the patrons of the show. We have Mark, Jason, Miles, Ryan, along with Steven. I mentioned them before. We have Manuel, Grant, Katie, Eric, Rachel, Tony, Valentin, Eric, Dern's father, Moritz, Anders, Shane, Micah, Chris, Reagan, Rob. I met Rob. Rob is Robert. And so Rob with two B's, Rob. Brandon, Scott, Joe, Edmund, Peter, Niall, Carl, Vardane, James, Joshua. Met Joshua first time. Matt, met Russ first time. That was good. Justin, met Justin. Jason, Bob and Chrissy Bob from Card Talk fame. Kyle, Daniel, Mike, Bob, Grimbjorn the old Bob, David, Sean, Lou, Phil, Joseph, and Dom. So thank you to all the patrons, and this is a great time to consider becoming a patron of the show. Just join us at Card Talk 20. That's the blog. We do have a blog too, but you can join us at patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can see the awesome swag that we were able to give out this year because of all the awesome patrons that we do have, and everybody gets a little bit of swag. But if you want big swag, that's the $5 and up level. So
big swag to go with all those big decks we saw at the con.
Big decks because of Perilous Voyage. How many Perilous Voyage decks did we see? I saw at least 3.
I saw quite a few, including myself. I was wielding one as well.
You were wielding one.
John, yeah, I like big decks, and I can't lie.
All the other brothers. This is going places where I don't want it to go. Joining us tonight, we have organizer emeritus John Peace and Thought Rogers. So, John, welcome to Card Talk.
Thank you. I'm taking a refresh action, as they say. So
yes,
pleasure to be with you.
Yeah. And so we thought it was super important to get you on the show because you're awesome. But also the con just literally happened. So I just left Minnesota 2 days ago, and Ted sent me a message saying how sad he was. So I wanted to make sure that we try to get everybody back into the happy mode of Lord of the Rings gaming.
Yep, we got a real Fourth of Three Hunters kind of feel here tonight.
Right. Right.
Good.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, here we are just trying to make fellowship and talk about the con. But John, let's get your opinion. You were behind the desk, and so to speak, not all weekend. You and I got a game, 2 games actually, of Race Across Harad. Thank you for that. But how did overall the con go, and what's your reflections on it? After two years away from this sort of event, what's going on with it?
Yeah, so this was Con of the Rings 3, so 2018, 2019, and then obviously we skipped last year because of the COVID pandemic. I was very pleased with how things went this year in a lot of ways. We had a sellout by the summer. And then as the Delta variant spiked a bit, we had some people, step out. We cycled a number of tickets that were sold and then, sold to other folks. At the end of the day, we had about 90 players check in over the course of the weekend, which was honestly more than I was expecting. I had put the high end at 80 because I'm a little bit of a pessimist. And we know there were some issues with closed borders and Canadians and Europeans and Australians not being able to get in. So all in all, I think it actually went really well. People were very kind and respectful to each other. We learned, I think, a lot that there was just a ton of enthusiasm to play again in person because some of the live podcast recordings and some of the trivia I hosted went over with no audience because people were so busy wanting to get in games this year that they didn't even really leave the table except to eat and use the bathroom and go to bed, which was just really impressive. I think in a lot of ways too, the five of us on the planning team, we did not really know how things were going to feel with sort of the official, I'm going to call it conclusion to the game, happening in the last several months with the release of the last pack and Dreadnought coming out. But I was just really edified walking around the room about the creativity, the sort of gas that's still left in the tank of the whole community. I mean, there were alt arts all over the place, as both of you well know. There were a lot of, custom quests being handed out, people creating their own little bits and pieces they wanted to give to folks. And I just think we got years ahead of us, frankly. I mean, we know we have forever ahead of us in terms of how much content we all have to play through and hero choices and all that kind of stuff. But I honestly was just left really happy and really pleased with the whole weekend.
Yeah, Ted, you were there. How'd it go for you?
I was. I thought it went really well, and as John said, I think the game sort of all these new cards came out, and then COVID kind of struck, and people were playing online for the most part, and probably not even playing with their local play groups for an extended period of time in 2020. So it was their first opportunity to feel the cardboard again, and that was really fun. It's really great to see some familiar faces, and it's always a bit of a different experience because you get a chance to play 3-player, 4-player games on a whim. You just assemble your company and go, and that to me it's like a new iteration of the quest. It's like, oh, have you played Desert Crossing? Well, yeah. Have you played Desert Crossing 4-player? Like, well no.
It hits that much harder.
Yeah. It just, every scenario, and you find that some are a little easier having more people there, and some are a little harder, and it's almost like another variant when you change the player counts from solo all the way to 4-player. It feels like a very different game. So it was really great to have the turnout that we did, and I thought things went pretty well.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say here too, as well, is that very impressed with the number of newer players as well. So we had about a third of our attendees where this was their first, Con of the Rings, but then a good 20% of our attendees first convention of this sort ever, of any sort of board game or anything like that. And so many people who've jumped in the last 2 years, maybe. So just to see new players and a lot of younger players, to see more women at the con, there were just a lot of kind of highlights in terms of some of those things because we were a pretty, I would say, sort of same-Z community at the first Con of the Rings, and it's definitely gotten more diverse as time has gone on. Not in all ways, but it was really great to see. Just okay, we have younger people, of course. Bob Grimbayorn the Old, I think, probably holds the record for oldest Lord of the Rings player that comes into these conventions regularly. I think he's in his early 70s, which just blows me away. But yeah, again,
Well,
just
Ted is old too.
yeah.
Have you? I don't know if you heard this story, but Ted got called old by a fan of the show.
Oh, yes,
By
I did
as
hear that, but
as a
I think
as
that
a
was a slip of the
It
tongue.
was
So
a slip of the tongue, and
we forgive slips of the tongue. Go
yeah,
ahead.
Smiticus, if you're out there, we're just giving you a little bit of a hard time. But it
Yeah.
was so funny the way it went down that that I just have to make sure that I give Ted a little bit of a ribbing here on air about it. So
Somewhat ready, Teddy. That's the old version.
some. Yeah, so, kind of ready, Teddy. And so actually, I learned a little something about the whole Ready Teddy thing. It's not that you can or can't call him Ready Teddy. It's about him getting mad. It never dawned on me. Like now that I get live, I'm like, oh, there it is.
I explained that to several people. I got approached by several people who did a little play on it. Some of our patrons and other listeners of the show and things like that, which was really fun. And I said, well, you guys can call me whatever you want, just whether I'm going to get angry or not.
Right.
Do you want to play?
Yeah.
You want to play a game?
Oh man. So John, what were some of the highlights for you personally? Well, you know what? Let me back up for a second, because
Sure.
this is your swan song of organizing here.
Mm-hmm.
So for those people who don't know, John, you've made it public now that this was your last con, and so I'm sure as you kind of walked around as an organizer, it's not like we're kicking you out of the community, right? But it's a little bit different once you step back as an organizer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as you walked around the con for the last time, what were some of your maybe favorite things that you saw as you were reflecting as you look back? What were those things?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple things that kind of come to mind. I think first of all, just the enthusiasm with which people take the convention is really impressive. So I've probably said it on Card Talk. I know I actually say it a lot, that one of the things that happens as an organizer to this is it's not real until you open the doors and people are there.
Right.
And so up until that last moment, it's all completely theoretical. And even as I know that like people are flying in and they're like, oh, I'm at my hotel, or maybe I met them even last night at the brewery or something like that, for a drink. It's not real until 10 a.m. when you crack open the doors and there's like 30 people there.
Right.
So I had the good fortune.
Us. They really like us.
There's a little bit of that, yeah.
Right.
But I had the good fortune to just like take a little bit of video as people walked in. And again, 90 attendees, and I think we had 50 to 60 of those 90 attendees check in the first 10 minutes, right? So people waiting outside the door is always just kind of blows you away in a really great way. So I never tired of that in my 3 years on the planning team. I think the only thing that might top it will be waiting outside next year.
4 years on the planning.
Yeah, I would correct, but 3 cons. You know what I mean? So we're not going to do that. We're not going to say
okay.
it's the
Okay.
the name. But yeah, I think the only thing that would excite me more is just sitting out on the other side of those doors next year. I'm actually pretty excited for, because I've just never had that experience of kind of not exactly knowing what the planners have done.
Right.
And I've tried to make a relatively clean break of chatting with my buddies on the planning team, giving them a checklist, handing over the passwords and saying, yeah, if we need to talk, fine. But like, I actually left the planning team chat yesterday.
Oh, really?
I was like, that's it, guys. Like, really, I want to know what this feels like from the other side. And then I'll probably have a whole ton of criticism for them, which is really criticism about my former self. But yeah,
so I were organizing this thing. This is what I would do.
Yeah, just go for it. But
right. And you're the only one that can say that, though. I mean, like, I can't go up and talk to tell Aaron. Well, Aaron, you know what I would do.
The amount of cosplay was really great this year,
and really good cosplay too. Jason and Sarah came in from Indianapolis, the Furial, and Sarah always does good stuff. Yeah, does. Jason is the Nazgul. There was several people in cloaks. There was, I think, a girl by the name of Madeline. I don't know if she listens to the show or part of the online digital. Yep, she came dressed as an elf, which was amazing. There was just a lot of interaction on the cosplay side of it. So
yeah, I don't think anything will ever beat. Gosh, I'm not even going to forget the name now, but it's Who came as Ancient Matham in 2019?
Yeah, I
There's a
forget.
really
I
funny.
know that was, it was funny because Sarah and I were talking about dressing up as Khan, and I was like, "You're going to do cosplay this year?" She's like, "Wait till you see." And I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's great." Because, well, she came on the show to talk about Khalil and her
Khalil, yeah.
affinity to Harad characters. I think so.
Sure.
For her to dress as Furial was amazing. Um,
Yes.
but she said, "My cosplay is going to be great, but it's not going to beat Agent Matham from 2 years ago." So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yes. Yeah. I think the other thing that was really just kind of fun this year was there's always an outpouring of prize support. It was unprecedented this year how much stuff we got handed from community members saying, put this in the prize pool for
I
raffles.
still didn't
Um,
get my alt art Celeborn. You had several alt art
we,
Celeborns up, and
we did. We did.
I wish that I need,
Mhm.
I have washed my hands of ever getting Boromir and Gimli, but an alt art
Yeah.
Celeborn would be great. Hey, listeners out there, we accept gifts. I'm not
Yeah.
asking,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
if it showed up in my mailbox, I wouldn't be upset.
More,
I'm
more
just
of a statement.
yeah, right. More of a statement.
Yes. Yeah. But I think that is part of it too. Is you see it. I mean, I'm even surprised. I mean, we had like a sealed clamshell copy of The Hunt for Gollum, which somebody had given us a couple of years ago. We just thought, man, that thing's never going to leave
Right.
the display case. And some newer player came up and was like, I don't have that one, and boom, there it went. But Durin's Father's Vision of the Palantir log book this year, all of those got taken out of the prize pool. People were really excited for those. I see Dave grabbing it right now.
Right.
Those are
I tried to have all my swag that that the community made ready,
Yep.
so that was, so this is nice. It's a log book. Obviously you can go to Durin's Father's Vision of the Palantir and see more about it, but if this is if Card Talk is your primary community resource, it's a huge 96-page book just designed to keep track of your quests and stuff. It's like a lot of ancillary stuff and related things, but it's definitely good.
Right. Yeah.
So
So that went well. Your alt art, journey along the Anduin grab every single copy you gave us. I
oh
think got
really?
taken. Yep.
Okay.
Fire in the Night, Purple Wizard's epic multiplayer Fire in the Night. Everything he donated got taken. His alt art decks he made I mean, just again, all that stuff just flew out because if you've been in this game for a while and you've been part of the community, you have all the official stuff, right? So a nightmare pack in our prize pool is not going to interest you, and maybe even a certain alt art won't interest you. But some of that fan made
alt art
stuff.
Celeborn would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I joke with you, John.
Just does amazing.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So it's pretty neat to just see those kinds of things. So again, it was kind of doors opening and the cosplay and the prize pool. But I think the other thing I said is just the creativity is still just astonishing. Like still being able to see decks you've never seen before and seeing alt arts all over the place. And Dave, did you have the laser engraved wooden hobbits? Where's that from?
So,
Okay.
So Vision of the Palantir last year as part of their swag, Dan got a laser engraver. So he afforded me a set of cards. He said, "I'll do 5 cards for you." I don't know if it was official or if because we're friends. Like we do stuff for each other like that. And so, so don't complain to him if you didn't get 5 cards. I don't know. I got 5 cards, so I got the Bond of Fellowship hobbits that I run. So it's the Fellowship contract, and then Frodo, Merry, Pippin, and Sam. So that was
awesome.
And I decided that I was going to run that deck the whole last day of the con. I was sick and tired of losing on the second day of the con. So on Sunday I was like, I'm just going to play this all day long. And I still lost.
Last thing I'll say about this is that I think too, Jeremy Zwern came out, one of the developers from Fantasy Flight Games came out. He's the one who developed the Dreadnought quest. And since we played that Saturday, the whole convention is an epic multiplayer. He made the decision to come out and watch it played. And I think that was, I hope, a good moment for him because the Gen Con 2020 event, which would have been Dreadnought, was canceled. So he never really got to see this played live by a big group of people. And so I think we had 83, I want to say, players.
79. There was some
79.
players that weren't participating. They were doing their own thing again. And that's let me say that is perfectly fine at the con. Like nobody's ever pressuring you to do what, the goal is to get together and play some cards. So 79 players. And I was
not even that. You can just hang out if you want.
Yeah, you don't even have to play. You could just hang out and do whatever. And so I was gonna go into a little bit of detail there because I feel like that was a series of fortunate events on my part because I had never played Dreadnought, and to this day I still haven't played Dreadnought because I volunteered, right? So the organizers, not you anymore, but the organizers, they will come over and they ask for people who are experienced or connected to the community, friendly faces, to volunteer at the front desk for the con, to keep track of stuff, welcome people in the community and things like that. And so I just happened to volunteer for Saturday morning, 10 to noon. I was like, Saturday morning, I know that it's fresh start. I know that I'm not going to be in the middle of a game. It'll be easy to come in. I'll just come in and I'll volunteer. And so first thing, I was able to talk to Nick for an extended period of time, who is amazing. Nick is an awesome addition to the organizing team. And so that's a lot of fun. But, Dreadnought started at 11 and you had that whiteboard, and I have a really loud voice. And so
it was very apparent, David, let me say, when you were, so to speak, commanding or leading or trying to modify the whiteboard. It was very clear what your profession was. I said, well,
auctioneer, right? Auctioneer.
Yeah, right. Many people, if they didn't know that I was a teacher, knew at that moment right there. Right?
Yeah.
And so, so it was just awesome. But like, of course there's been epic multiplayer. And if anybody doesn't know, Hunt for the Dreadnought is not, I guess it's not considered epic multiplayer. Maybe it is. I guess it's epic multiplayer.
It's a variant compared to the other two, but it is for sure.
But it's different because any number of players can play it. And so with 79 players, the quest scaled. So there was 608 quest points on the first stage. And so after a little bit, once we get down to about 200 quest points, I'm screaming across the hall, give me your quest points. How many quest points do you have? And so we were ticking off.
I have 5, Dave. I have 5.
Right, right. And the group of 4 in the middle of the hall that were playing something else, they were screaming numbers and that should have. They're like, we have 0, we have -2, so it was fun. They were being funny. And then so the first stage had 608 quest points, and then you flip it, and then the Dreadnought ended up with 1185 hit points or health or whatever you want to say, and that was fun. So I thought that was really good. And the suggestion that I have is, because of the format, that's like perfect for the con. And so I told all the organizers, individually, but I will say it officially for everybody, is that I just think that, no matter what people are playing, I feel like the Dreadnought has to be a scenario that is played at a con like that until another version of that sort of scenario comes out. It's fine to play epic multiplayer, Anuminas, or, the other one that's impossible. But Dolguldur. But it's different when you have all 79 people coming together as one to do this job and to win this battle. It's a whole different feel. And I did get a chance to talk to Jeremy for a long time because everybody was playing and I was, up front doing whatever, and Jeremy was up front, and you could tell that he just felt a really big sense of pride. Like he felt like this is it. And it stunk that that 2020 Gen Con got canceled for him. But I feel like if there's a place where he could see it, like Con of the Rings is the place. Like it's the like 100%. Like it's a whole room full of people playing Lord of the Rings. Like that's what they love to do, and they're there to play Lord of the Rings. At Gen Con, not everybody may love Lord of the Rings like we do. So like it was a whole different feel. So anyways, Jeremy is an amazing designer of the game, and like we talked a little bit about stuff that he has designed. Spoiler alert, he did say that he would be willing to come on the show, but getting a designer to come on the show requires some behind the scenes stuff that's that has to be approved and things like that. So
You have to give them a drop of your blood, right? That's how.
yeah, right. I have to give him my alt art Celeborn. That's why I don't have. That's why I don't have one.
And since you don't have one,
right,
you can't.
I'll never be able to do it. So, no. But anyways, I think that was a highlight for a lot of people at the con was Dreadnought, with the designer of the Dreadnought walking around watching people do the Dreadnought thing.
Yeah. Ted, can we talk about our Sunday game, because that's actually one of my other favorite memories. Can we talk about Mount Gundabad and Saruman and all of those wonderful things, because that's just probably one of my other highlights, just in terms of just sheer gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you reminded me, like, we got to get a game in before we go. And the last game of the con I played, I like, let me into your game, squeeze in. And that was a tremendous game. And the reason I love going to conventions and seeing pickup games is because people, I've said it before on the show, people make different choices than I do with their deck construction and the heroes they pick and the contract and just things I don't think of. And those are the things that come up that I just like, I would never even put this in a constructed deck. Like things like that happen that you find out about. So it was a tremendous game.
Yeah. We had Nello, I believe, from the Cleveland area. Somewhat young player, was there with his brothers and his father, I believe. But he was rolling a Elrond Tactics Aowen Leadership Sam Spirit Glorfindel Fellowship deck.
Oh, all those heroes stink. He picked the four worst heroes in the game and put them together in a deck.
He just put the four best heroes, which makes sense. Right. And he was rocking along and doing all kinds of great things. And then eventually all of his Stargazers died, and he didn't want to blind Vilya anymore. And since it was Mount Gundabad, there was this dragon, right? So we got near the end, and then all of a sudden, Helm of Secrecy came out, and as it turned out, Elrond had been Baragon
the whole time. The whole time.
And I've never actually seen Helm of Secrecy even played at the table before. I mean, I know it exists, and people talk about sort of theoretical uses of it, but to see it in a 4-player game, and then there was some jankery going on where we knew we could get a bunch of readies out of Baragon for various reasons, but then the player to his right, Dominic, realized that if he made Spirit Glorfindel in the service of the Steward, he could send a second resource to Glorfindel to play more Unexpected Courages on Baragon. I mean, it was just complete madness. Ted, I just feel like we had some moments where we looked at each other like, this is amazing. Like, I don't know what's going on, but it's just, the emergent gameplay here is just incredible. So yeah, so I was very
yeah, a very bunch of different decks, and yeah, we just saw plays that weren't like I said, that weren't I wouldn't normally think of, and I was running a Saruman, a Doom deck, and so I felt like a salesman, and I was like, well, I was trying to talk players into plays, like, which Doom card can I get them to do this round? Like, which one's going to be best?
This is really what was going on over there. It was great.
Yeah, it was a tremendous time. There's so many great highlights. I believe the community started to log them in the Discord chat. I saw people started to catalog all these crazy things. So check out the Discord chat, the Con of the Rings channel. There's a Google Doc going around. People are just posting like, "Oh, I can't believe this happened."
Yeah, it's fun to read through them, because even if you weren't there, I mean, if you know the cards or whatever they're talking about, it's like, oh, yeah, I get. But again, it's when you have, I mean, who knows how many card plays over the course of, what is it, 25 hours of the convention being open or whatever, and 90 people. I mean, just thousands of interactions, and yeah, weird stuff happens, and it's like, I'm also a baseball fan, and so you hear all the time about how in baseball, yes, there's a certain number of very common things that are going to happen, but if you watch enough baseball, you're going to see every weird thing on earth occur, because the possibilities are endless, and Lord of the Rings really feels like that at this point, where just the odd things that go down can happen if you've got everything in a really concentrated space. So, and Ted, I do want to say as a way of honoring you and your incredible Saruman deck, I have off to my left here on my little card table where I play. I have a 2-player game of the Dungeons of Kirith Garat. And for the combat, I have my very standard Eagles deck. And on the left, I have a Saruman Spirit Eowyn, Spirit Mary deck going on right now that I never would have put together except for seeing Saruman do really well in a 4-player game and just going, all right, we got, I feel a little dirty pulling him out and playing him because, he's a bad guy, but it's pretty fun. I gotta say, I'm a believer. So next year I will be the guy walking around the con jonesing for some Doomed. Asking other folks if they would like to sample a little Doomed.
Yeah, hey, you guys got any more of those Doom cards? I could really use some resources or use some cards. What do you have?
Yeah,
what do you got for me?
Yeah, couple of enemies not attacking. Maybe you can.
Yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, I'll take care of you, man. Just go cost some these like that. Don't worry about it.
I got it. I got you.
Right.
Saruman, the ultimate hustle.
Yeah. Not to mention, I mean, I talked a decent amount and played a little bit with Shane from the community as well. Forgetting screen name for the
old Toby McShire.
Old Toby McShire, that's right. And Shane has got some pretty good Saruman Doomed art, I think, that might be around at Con of the Rings 2022. So
okay.
I'm kind of excited for a little bit of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, this is what the con is just, I was playing next to somebody and, like, I had my Hobbit deck out, and one of the, I wouldn't say the key features of my Hobbit deck, but I would say that one of the things that I really love to do is put Thorngill onto Mary, and that's a pretty standard play.
Yeah.
But I was playing next to somebody that was like, I've never seen Thorngill used in a situation, and I was like, watch this. Watch Mary become
here we go
the most powerful spirit attacker ever. Like whatever,
yep.
Like, and that's the fun part about it. It's just seeing what comes from the mind of the players in the community, and we get that. I mean, we get that, right? We have Rings DB, we have all these resources, people post decks all the time, but when the people who come up with them play them, that's what's so fun,
Right.
Like, I was talking about Jason and Sarah cosplaying the Nazgul and the Furial, so we decided that we were going to play all Grey Wanderer decks. So we played something all Grey Wanderer. So I played my Grey Wanderer Khalil deck. Jason played his Grey Wanderer Sam deck. She played Grey Wanderer something. Sorry, Sarah, I forget what you were playing, but we all had copies of Strider. That was the only modification we made.
Yeah, sure.
Strider, brighter, and tighter. I don't know. It's just...
Please call me. Sorry. Wait. What?
Yeah. What am I calling you? But that's the fun stuff that happened. And I still can't get over that there's food and drink and beer right in the game center. Like, I'm used to game stores that, you have to, the dark, deep dungeon of going into the back where your feet stick to the floor and it's a carpeted floor. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, that's probably describes 90% of the back rooms at game stores.
Yeah. Although Dave, I mean, we actually we all went out and had lunch this year. That was a new thing for me too. I mean, that's the first time in 3 years I've gone out of the game center for
that
food.
That was a welcome break. John and a couple other, Greg and Jim. I don't know if how Greg and Jim are related to the community. I mean, I got to know them pretty well. They were staying at the hotel. I don't know if they're on the Discord or if they listen to the show or whatever, but they're great people, and we went out for Indian food, and it was just a real nice a nice little break from con food.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, again, all around, I mean, just so many great play experiences, and you could just feel the enthusiasm in the room, and good to see a mix of standard stuff and Aleph coming out, and again, Joe Sunday morning giving us Fire in the Night epic multiplayer, which was pretty cool. That's kind of his thing now. I actually, I don't remember. I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday night. I think it was Friday night. I had a chance to sit down and play his epic multiplayer, Helm's Deep, as well, just kind of on a whim, and was just really impressed with that. So,
did you play it with physical cards or did you play it online?
no, I played with physical cards at the con, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will confess, I have a real difficulty with sort of complicated board states. So I mean, I'm not that smart. I'm not that good of a player. So oftentimes what will happen is in an epic multiplayer game, I just need someone else to run the encounter deck.
Sure.
Like I don't want to have any part of that because I'm going to miss something and then we have to back way the heck up or figure out what we're doing.
Right.
And Joe sort of, I mean, he was playing, but he sort of game mastered the epic multiplayer Helm's Deep. And I almost think that's the way to go with some of those, just from sort of a sheer enjoyment standpoint.
Yeah.
But it was great. So we actually had 5 tables at epic multiplayer Helm's Deep of 2 players apiece, which is kind of the way I prefer to play most of the epic multiplayers. Is I don't like 3 tables of 4 because so much can go wrong in Siege of Innuminas or Escape or Assault on Dol
Right.
But 2 players in epic multiplayer with 5 tables was great. Although we did joke that the travel phase was kind of like a congressional negotiations phase because you can send you can send people back and forth, and so you're like, well, I'll trade you Aragorn for a warden to Helm's Deep, and but you're gonna have to pay for that. But it was great. It was really fun. And honestly, this whole convention, I played far more epic multiplayer than I'm usually comfortable with. I actually even usually shy away from 4-player games because there can be such brain burn on them, or sometimes they can become slogs just because of the nature of the quest. Like I really prefer the 2- and 3-player game, but I got to the end of the weekend and just looked back at what I'd played and just I can't believe I played this much epic multiplayer, but I was just enjoying myself. It was great. So.
Yeah, those quests that Joe put together are really thematic and really you can see his growth over the years that he has done that. You can see the growth in from Kobos Haven up to Helm's Deep and through into Fire in the Night, and it's good. I know that Fire in the Night, I know that Helm's Deep holds a special place in a lot of players' hearts because of because of the book and the movie. Like everything about Helm's Deep is really good, but despite that, I still think that I liked Fire in the Night a little bit more. It just, to me, it hit just a little bit better. But 6 of one, half dozen the other at this point. Joe's got it all figured out, and I guess I should also credit his partner, Mr. Thomas, right? He helps out a ton with that. They're co-designers, I guess. So Joe becomes the face, but Thomas behind the scenes does a lot of the heavy lifting for that.
I don't want to go overly long here necessarily, but I did kind of want to ask both of you, what were favorite deck you played this weekend? And then I also wanted to ask favorite deck you saw that you sort of envied from afar, like you wish you had thought of that.
Ted?
Ooh, yeah, I was able to build
well, Ted,
a decent number.
Let me interrupt Ted for a second because Ted is a really good deck builder, so he doesn't envy many
Anyone.
decks. So
I can confirm at this point. Saruman.
Yeah. Ted,
it was fun.
Sorry. Go ahead, Ted.
Well, what was really great too about our game, John, is I built that Saruman deck, and I didn't get a chance to play it Friday or Saturday. I played it Sunday morning in a 2-player game. What was hilarious is when I sat down at your table, everyone already had their decks out. You start looking around, and I started systematically limiting my decks, and that was the only one I actually had viable.
Yeah, you were shuffling things from the top to the bottom of your case. It was great. You were like, nope. And it was like, oh, Saruman. And I was deeply suspicious. Yeah, I bet you could tell. I was like, that is not going to work, Ted. Like, you're going to tick somebody off here. But
so that was actually a blast to play that because I really wanted to see that impact in a multiplayer game because I just don't get to do that. It's the same thing. We talked about all this epic multiplayer, competitive mode. when you go to a convention like this or to Gen Con, this is the place to do those things. You just like, I don't get to do this game mode because you don't have enough people, right? Solo and 2-player, a lot easier to get together. But I saw a lot of really great decks. I saw some mono leadership decks. Actually, Sminicus had a mono leadership deck, and he's like, "Oh, you mind if I just put this down? All it does is let players draw cards, and I give them resources." And I said, "That sounds great. That sounds great. Have a seat.
Just come here.
What do you got,
my friend?
More of that,
right? Like, what table doesn't love that deck? Like, oh, great, Campfire Tales, Man the Walls, sure."
I know.
So that was really great to see.
Dave, how about you?
David.
What was your favorite, and what was the thing
So
that really?
it was really funny because there was like Con of the Rings 2 happening at the hotel. Like we played probably just as long at the hotel as we did at the con. So we would get back to the hotel about 11 o'clock at night, and then I was staying up till like 4 a.m. every day playing stuff. And so one night I was playing. We decided to not do one of the Arid Mithrin or Haradrim quests, and so we were playing Treachery of Rudar, and I pulled out my janky Mono Spirit Hobbit deck that is basically it relies on Thorngill, again Thorngill Merry, so and then Frodo can defend everything, and Thorngill Merry with a whole bunch of Mirkwood Long Knives and Elf Friend, and he becomes, I call it my Elfie Hobbit deck, and it actually was hitting. Like the guys were like, "When is this? What's going on over there? Like, why do you have Mirkwood Long Knives?" And I said, "Wait one turn."
Shuffle.
Yeah, wait one turn. Yeah, and so I ended up getting out Thorngill and Long Knives, and they were like, "What? Why are you doing that?" And I said, well, if I wouldn't have played my Unexpected Courage over there on Baragond or over there onto Grimbeorn, I would have 2 Unexpected Courages on Mary, so I'd be able to lower my threat, attack, defend, attack again. I'd be able to quest. I'd be able to do everything here with Mary, and it was hitting, so I was like, this is good. So I put it away and never played it again because it's never going to hit ever again.
Go out on top.
But the other exactly, right, John? You know that, right?
Yep. Go out on top.
That's what you're doing. You won the Super Bowl. So the other thing is I'd never really seen a Perilous Voyage deck. Like I haven't seen them online much. I haven't played them online, and so to see people mashing together 100 cards. We played with Ted's friend Justin. He's a patron of the show. Hey Justin, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you. You were a gentleman and a scholar. He had a Perilous Voyage deck, 100 cards, and I was just like, what's going on? But it was inspiring. Anytime I see a deck that I'm like, oh, I want to try that. So I have to put together my own Perilous Voyage deck, and I have some ideas. So I think Ted had did you have a Perilous Voyage deck too, Ted?
Yeah, I played it during Dreadnought, and what was really interesting about Dreadnought is it's got this real time mechanic to it, right? Like real time, like it's not sort of based on turns exactly. And it was really interesting playing Perilous Voyage because I'm like, I don't know how many turns I'm going to be playing. I don't know when I'm going to thread out exactly.
Yeah,
I have to play this real carefully. So that was really interesting.
Right. Or you just play really slowly.
Yes, that's what I said. I said, well, if we're going to thread out, let's just go into like cruise control mode on the high seas.
Right. That's it. Right. So that's good. And John, I do have to ask about the swag, right? I think it's really important to do that. I'm going to do a really awesome special effect here. Ready? Watch my camera here. Woo!
Whoa.
Okay, but here we have the swag. So while I'm doing this, you can kind of explain what the swag is.
Yeah, for sure. So this year there was a real desire on our part to sort of honor the conclusion of the game, the ending of the quest. So we took a look at some different options. We worked with Relento, who we usually work with on our graphic design. So he did graphic design for deck boxes, the t-shirt. I'm wearing a lot of stuff behind me on my bookshelf right now. But what we wanted to do with him this year was really get into that whole all of the cycles of the quest. So we asked him to take a look at the sort of most popular encounter sets from each of the different cycles and build us basically a design that could go onto a poker chip. So what we have here, what we're seeing is the Mirkwood cycle there on the left, and then Khazad-dûm, and then the Heirs of Numenor, and then we've got Ringmaker and help me out here, the Dread Realm.
Right.
I always forget the name of this one for some reason.
Angmar Awakens, right?
Shadows of Angmar Awakens. Thank you.
What's the cool thing about the Dream Chaser chip, though?
Yes, is that you can also use it to do your sailing tests.
So it's got the weather icons, so you can use it for your sailing tests. So that's cool. Right. And then
Ered Mithrin, and then Haradrim, and then the Shadows in the East, and then a Con of the Rings 2021 piece as well there. So the idea here was really, and again, Rolento had these all set up last year until we had to cancel. And so he actually had to go back and put a 2021 on the Con of the Rings chip instead of a 2020. But Nick, again, new addition to our team. He's also the planning team's lawyer. I like to joke that he's my lawyer, although he's actually not. And so Nick and Rolento work together. They work with the folks at Chip Lab, who I believe are out in Denver, I want to say. But those guys did great. It was wonderful to work with them. Nick and Rolento kept sending sort of proof after proof to them, because Rolento's work is so detailed that we actually had to get him to sort of not send such detailed work to Chip Lab because it was coming back fuzzy, because he'd done so many little details that just didn't show up on that size. And so we kind of had to do, I think it was like 4 iterations in the end. But yeah, just a way to kind of, okay, you've got status markers maybe, but you have some way to sort of honor each cycle of the game. Everything that was created by FFG that was not the saga.
Right.
Say, okay, we put a bow on it, and here it is.
So. And what I like about Chip Lab, and not that this is any sort of commercial for Chip Lab, but like I've used them for a while. I don't know where you got the idea of doing poker chips from, but we'll save that for a different show. But this year's poker chip for Card Talk has the podcasting golem on the back of it, and it's really neat. Designed by Amy Elise Kell. You can search her up and see what's going on, but it's really cool. But what I like about Chip Lab is they print it onto the chip. It's not a sticker. So it's a little more durable. So as a guy who has played poker for a long time, you want durable chips. And so you have some high quality swag there, my friend, and I'm excited. I loved it so much that I got an extra. I bought an extra one at the con. So
yeah, good. I'm good
happy
to have them.
Yeah,
I'm still debating whether or not I want to use mine, or there's a part of me that kind of wants to. So again, I can't necessarily show it to you because I'm going to mess up my camera. But I've got a Magali Glorfindel off my right shoulder, and I have a huge map of Middle Earth next to it in the corner, and I kind of want to see if there's a way to take those 10 poker chips and maybe sort of back them with velvet and then frame it, because I sort of want to have sort of a whole tribute to all those cycles somewhere up in my office here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Rolento,
so we'll see where that lands, but
yeah, Rolento did a great job. So Rolento, if you're listening, buddy, it's good stuff.
Yes, and by all means, please keep working with the planning team, Rolento, because I'm sure plenty of people figured out. But even the T-shirts this year, the evil shirts and the Free People shirts, it was just taking the design from the deck box from 2019 and sticking on a shirt. But they look so stinking good.
This is one of the. Yeah. Is that the same? Yep. That's the player deck, right?
Yeah, and then you'll notice those were on our banners as well this year around the convention.
Yep.
They just so cool, and there's a real, I think, value too to just even having a shirt that doesn't have any words on it. It doesn't say Con of the Rings like we have in the previous years. It's just the design. I mean, it just looks beautiful, and it's a conversation piece, I think, for some people.
They're definitely nice shirts, aren't they, Ted?
They are. They are, even if you leave them at the hotel.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it. But, yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Actually, I called them and they were located, and they are being mailed to me, actually.
Nice. Worth it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. it's interesting because you go to the con and like my personal journey this year has been so crazy. I moved, I've been teaching during a pandemic, so to have something like this come back and to be able to kind of recharge my Lord of the Rings batteries, like
Yep.
it's not that I'm thinking about ending Card Talk or not doing Card Talk anymore. Don't worry about any of that stuff. But, you just need something to kind of keep you going, right?
Yep.
And so, like you don't believe it until it happens, like you were saying earlier. So, this is one of those things that, when the doors open and you're finally there with, half of the people, and then you're meeting new people and, and the other half are people that, you know from the internet and never seen them in live and in person. It's great. So, I'm playing with old friends, and I'm meeting new ones, and that's the kind of stuff that makes the con so amazing. I think at the con I only played one game on Saturday, but that didn't bother me because it was so much fun to just sit down and hang out. And plus it was the Arid Mithrin cycle, so anytime you're playing 3 or 4 player Arid Mithrin, you're in there for 7 hours.
Yeah, I had the good fortune to have someone sort of wander into the convention area from the public gaming space, and there's a couple of some sort, and the woman had she had the Doors of Durin tattoo that was quite visible.
Right.
And they just popped in and they said, we were here and we were looking for these minis for this Middle Earth Battles game, but is this like a Lord of the Rings thing? and I sort of said, well, yeah, it's for this co-op game, like you could buy it over there. But at the end of the day, I the really thing I said is this is just the friendliest community in the world. Like that's really, I said, the game is over. There's like, however many expansions for it, but like this is the friendliest community in the world right here. This is, if any hobby community you're in, this is it. And so if you want in, like, go buy that core set, and like we'd really love to see you. Either come in right now or be here in 2022, because it's such an edifying thing. It's so life-giving to be there in person. And again, to look around even when the game is quote unquote dead in many ways, and just say, oh man, this thing could roll on for years if we wanted it to. And I don't see, Card Talk doesn't seem like it's slowing down. Cardboard of the Rings doesn't seem like it's slowing down. Alep is going full steam. Vision of the Palantir is going full steam. Folks like the Purple Wizard are trying to figure out, okay, we've got this nice big sandbox to play in. We're gonna be here for a long time. Right. And that's just great. We're
going to be here a long time with high quality stuff, kind of the Rings. So, it'd be a shame for you to come on the show and then me not ask the important question. And I know that you're an organizer emeritus, but I guess, I'm here for the hard hitting questions, John.
Yeah.
2022, is that a go?
I'm almost certain that it is.
Okay.
Again, I don't think there's any sign of the rest of the guys on the team slowing down. I think Aaron, especially, he and I had a conversation on Sunday, and I think there's a really interesting saying, we had the planning team at 4. I've stepped down. Nick has joined. Let's fill my spot, so to speak. Let's get a new voice in there. Let's get some new energy and enthusiasm in there and keep chugging along. And I think so long as there's interest, I think there will be people who are willing to pick up the banner. And I talked to Mag as well from Hall of Gondor. And Hall of Heroes, and Mag is, I think, about to embark on the adventure of setting up a Marvel Champions convention at the Game Center. And so Mag and I had a chance to talk for quite a long time on Sunday, just about, okay, how did we do it? How did we launch ours? And Mag's planning team has got no Minnesotans on it at the moment, so nobody who's local. And then I sort of look at our team and say, well, if 4 people right now are local, as long as one person can walk down to drive down to the Game Center and talk to the manager, this thing can be around. It's baked in. We know what we're doing. There's kind of the yearly checklist. And then that gives the folks that are on the planning team the freedom to iterate a little bit or try something new, because you sort of know at this point 3 years in, like, oh, these are the things we always do. You know, we get the hotel block and we sign a contract and we put our down payment in and
Right,
those
right.
sorts of things. So I think it's easier than it ever has been to keep it moving along in 2022 and beyond, just because so much has been learned and there's kind of
And what's your tagline about a con?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just barely a con.
Barely a convention. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the other thing as well, is that, and I will toot our horn on this, that from the very beginning, we wanted this to be a convention that we could play at, where we were not so overwhelmed with duties that we couldn't say, hey, I'm leaving the front desk and I'm going to play.
Right.
And so it's set up in that way too. And in some ways, I mean, I think people really appreciate it, because from people who go to Gen Con and Origins and sort of more, obviously, you know, Gen Con's like, you know, 300 times our size or whatever it is. I mean, way more than that even. A lot of the regular con goers comment that this is so relaxed. It honestly, it feels like vacation in a way that Gen Con doesn't, because Gen Con's sort of like a needle you need to thread. And I think as long as that feeling is there, people are going to be encouraged to come. And I think the con can sustain at 130 attendees. I think it can sustain it at 90 attendees, as we learned. I think it could sustain at 50 attendees if it came to it. I think there will come a time where it probably does wind down. But so long as there's that sort of core of, you know, 75 to 100 people willing to do this, I think the planning team can make it happen.
Yeah, I think the community is still growing around the game. So I think that, you know, sunsetting Con of the Rings would be not because the community isn't interested, but probably because, you know, the organizers just couldn't do it anymore. And as long as the organizers have passion for it, that's good. The question then becomes, who's going to be coming on the show next year to not talk about cards?
I don't know.
Who's going to be the PR guy?
I mean, I could throw somebody under the bus and say who I'd want to come talk, but you know, Aaron's already talked about Hero Dory, I think, on the pod, right?
Oh, so I just have one thing very quickly to talk about is so you know, Aaron with his Dory, he had a Dory Grey Wanderer deck. And so at the beginning of this, I was playing with Brad and Sean, who I roomed with. He's a patron. Sean was an amazing roommate. Thank you, Sean, for a good weekend there. That was good. And then I was playing with Brad. So it was Aaron and Brad from Cardboard of the Rings, me and Sean. And Brad, so he breaks out, not Brad, Aaron breaks out his Grey Wanderer Dory deck.
Yeah, he's like Dory the Explorer, as
right.
We like
Yep. And he's like, watch this guy do his thing. and I say it before it even begins, Aaron, you need to write down how many things Dory does for you.
Yeah.
We ended up losing not because of him, but because of the boards, whatever. And he tallied it up. We said in 6 rounds, he donated 76 defense, blocked 28 attacks. Like, he had it all figured out. And so, you know what, community, stop giving Aaron a hard time about his Dory the Explorer deck.
Yeah, he's there. He's there to stay. So yeah, Aaron, I'm not sure what card exactly he'd talk about. If you can get Mark on, Mark has an amazing deck called the Easily Distracted Hobbits, which is all about side quests. Which is quite good. So we need to sort of figure out a way to get him on. But yeah, you'll definitely have somebody to chat about what 2022 holds. And I mean, honestly, I'm just as excited as everybody else. Like, I kind of gave my final thoughts to the rest of the guys and wrote up my notes about my part of the workflow and stepped out and said, like, cool, see you in 2022. I'm excited to buy a ticket. Like, let's do this. So
I think that's a shame. You shouldn't have to buy a ticket. There's one person in the community
like
that shouldn't buy a ticket.
But that's part of the experience, right? Is I sort of told the rest of the guys too. I mean, deep friendships. I mean, Mark and I have been playing together for, almost a decade now. This game, I mean, we like to joke because we are Race Against the Shadow world champions from like 2013. We'll tell that story later or some other time. But you just kind of look at it and you just say, I just wanted to play more. I was on the planning team meetings and don't have time to do everything. And so there's this monthly meetup at the game center for Lord of the Rings. I was just never at, because I always had to save sort of one night of the month for planning and couldn't take any more. So I'm excited to just play more cards and just be at more tables and just enjoy myself, just look around and say, cool, we did it. It's still going. And that's kind of its own fun thing. So.
Yeah. And John, I'm sure I typically don't speak for the community, but I can, I think I will here and go out on a limb, but, and say that the community is super thankful for all that you have done to help organize Con of the Rings. It's obviously not your solo project, but
No, not
it's
at all.
definitely, part of who you are and part of who you are for this community. And so, on behalf of the community, thank you for putting your heart and soul into this convention and, for being the spokesperson, at least to us, and, the one of the faces of this amazing game,
Yeah, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor. And one of the I don't know, it in some ways it's silly, right? Because it's like, maybe you think the same about Card Talk. Is like I do a podcast about a card game. Like, on the one hand, you say like this is hobby and this is, its own thing. But on the other hand, yeah, you just say, no, this means a lot and it's life-giving. And it's great to look around the room and just say, people will always, always, always gather around these books, gather around this legendarium, gather around the meaning that they find there, and this game that seems to express what Tolkien wanted to do so absolutely well. And so it's great. It's everybody's contribution to the legendarium. That's really what it is. And I think Tolkien, in some ways, as much as he's said I don't want to be in a movie or whatever, I think if he were alive now, perhaps he might rethink some of that, because there's so many people who are doing this just out of a sheer sense of joy and sub-creation. And yeah, it's great. So
that's exactly the word.
That's super fun.
Sub-creation, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think that is a good place to leave it. I'm sure that we could talk for another 3 or 4 hours about the con and about everything. Yeah, I mean, it's just always awesome, right, to do that. So, but we'll cut it here. And if you want to know more about the con, I'm sure that everybody and their mother is putting out a con reflection. I put out one on the blog. All the Cardboard of the Rings guys are going to be doing stuff. Their Twitter feed is filled with pictures. There's all sorts of stuff that, and if you have questions, ask them. We'll be happy to explain to you and talk to you and tell you what happened. And, that's part of it. So John, thank you so much for coming out tonight and, taking a part of your evening right after spending the whole weekend with us. Now we're taking up one more evening, of your life. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. And at some point we will return maybe in a year and actually talk about cards. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I can just have you on just as a guest and not to talk about cards, not talk about Con of the Rings. Okay. Teddy, any last words there? Ready, Teddy?
No. I think there may be a day where the convention falls, but it is not this day.
It is not this day. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week as we return to talking about more cards. Have a great night, everybody.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube, and there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cons in the Lord of the Rings community. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about cons. I was wondering that we should just rename the episode Con Talk. That's what the episode should be.
We should. I bet you we're going to talk about some cards, right?
We might. Cards are the foundation of what we do. So yes, cards will be interlaced, interweaved. Cardboard has hit the table recently, and that's what we're going to be discussing.
Yes. Ted, can I ask you something? Can I ask you a personal question? Which microphone are you using?
It should be this one. Does it sound like trash?
It sounds like not your headset microphone.